Hello and welcome to SBC Chat. Today I've been joined by Sylvia and John Boys. If you'd like to introduce yourself, any interesting facts, and that'd be great. Thank you.
Hello there, I'm Sylvia Boys. I'm retired and I'm married to John. We've been married for 12 years and between us we have 4 sons, 4 daughters-in-law and 5 grandchildren. John and I were both widowed about 15, 16 years ago, and our friendship came about through a mutual friend. And when John and I were on holiday in Antigua, John proposed to me on the beach in Antigua. Very romantic. And then 7 months later, we returned to Antigua to get married.
Right, I'm John. You've heard about our marriage. I originally wanted to join the Royal Air Force, but was advised that a more professional career was possibly safer. So I qualified as a chartered accountant in Edinburgh in, I think, 1972, a long, long time ago. And my career was mainly in the motor industry, latterly working for the best Japanese car manufacturer, I won't name which one, where I was in the dealer development department. And was largely responsible for financial analysis of the dealer network. And I suppose in retirement, in quotes, I now still do the financial matters for 2 Royal Air Force charities, which keeps me going. The big one was the Bomber Command Memorial. And I also write books, as some of them may know. I'll just show you which ones. There's a couple here, Blue Streak,
Okay,
or the Thor ballistic missile. This is my main area of interest. Both available on Amazon if required.
okay. And other bookstalls, good bookstalls, store them as well.
Yes.
You haven't got that book. They're rubbish bookstalls, so don't go in there. But I didn't know you wrote books, John. I'm completely caught off guard by that.
Oh, right. Sorry about that. No, it's a subject that perhaps not all Christians might totally approve of. I mean, I do have a great interest in the early nuclear history of this country, sort of the 1950s, 1960s.
Yeah, so you're both involved in SBC worship at the minute. How are you finding that? Because I know it's very different, because, I mean, you two are very lucky that you can sing together. But how are you finding pre-recording songs and all the tech that's going with that? How is it?
We managed to master it perhaps rather quicker than I thought to begin with. But the Zoom and the likes, it's these technology things are so well designed now. They're not difficult for people even of our age group to master with a reasonable degree of proficiency.
Thank you for continuing to help leaders in worship and putting yourselves in this vulnerable new situation to help encourage all of our church. So have you always sort of lived around the Croydon, Selsdon area, or?
Well, I think for me it's quite a long story, because my parents were missionaries in the Belgian Congo, and I was actually born in the Belgian Congo in a small village called Belobo. And I've got an older sister, 2 years older than me. So the first 5 years of my life and the 7 years of my sister's life was spent in a totally different environment. But because we didn't know any different, it was normal. And I've got some wonderful pictures of me having a bath in a bucket and standing outside the house where the houseboys have got a python snake on some pieces of wood that they were displaying while the photo was taken. And it was just second nature. At night before we went to bed, we'd check there was water in the little tin cans under the legs of our bed to make sure the ants didn't climb into the bed with us. And we just accepted this as normal. And it was a totally alien way of life when we came back to the UK. I was 5 and my sister 7, and we went to a boarding school in Sevenoaks, a school for missionaries' daughters. And our parents went back to Africa without us for 4 years. But because we were with girls of a similar situation, we didn't think it was anything unusual not to see parents for 4 or 5 years. So it was just a way of life. And when my parents came back from Africa, my father took up the ministry at Penge Baptist, that isn't far from here, and we lived in Beckenham. And due to the way the ministry works, after about 10 years, my father and my mother moved up to Stafford. And so from about the age of 20, I've sort of lived in lodgings and with friends and got married, and have always stayed in the Kent area, and now have lived here for many years. About 50 years I've lived in Kent, of which 30 have been in this present house. So yeah, I'm not really from Croydon at all, and the only time we head for Croydon is when we're heading towards Selsdon Baptist Church. So
okay, how has your experience of lockdown been? I know it's changed now because we're allowed a few more freedoms, but sort of how have you felt? How have you found it?
I think initially, because we didn't expect the lockdown to possibly be more than 12 weeks, we thought it'd be a great time to get the garden straight, redecorate a couple of rooms, sort out some stuff for the charity shops, make phone calls, write letters, try out new recipes, learn to cope with Zoom and Skype, that was an alien technological thing to us. And initially I just got used to zooming round Sainsbury's, literally zooming with a trolley, not with a computer, to do the shopping in record quick time, because you weren't sure who was infectious, had the old mask and the gloves on, and it was almost a bit of a novelty, I think. But after a while we realised this was here to stay for longer than anticipated, and it's just been really strange that whenever we want to see friends or family, we have to travel cautiously, we have to social distance. It's very difficult not being able to give the grandchildren a hug. And I think initially they thought there was something wrong with Nana and Major. John's called Major to my grandchildren, because they were sort of encouraged to keep away from us. And I think they thought it was something like the lepers in the Bible, that we were contagious, so it's been really difficult, especially, as I said, with friends and family. We're fortunate that we've got very good neighbours, so we've been able to chat to them and share food and recipes and help each other with shopping. And it's just been a different way of life that we couldn't predict. So I think we've made it up as we go along. And so far, so good.
So, Sylvia and John, do you have a favourite Bible verse or one that stands out?
There's so many that one can draw on, but I think at this particular time, I find the one in Romans chapter 8, verse 38, I'm convinced that neither life nor death, nor the present or the future, can separate us from the love of God. And I find that quite comforting, because God says he's with us always, and yet in this time of the pandemic, it's easy to sort of panic a bit, take your eyes off God, and a bit like Peter, feel that you're sinking into the water. And I think it's just as well to hold on to a simple verse that really can encourage and keep us going.
Yeah. Is there any prayer requests that you have, or friends or family, or just the wider things that we could pray into?
I think that too often we, and maybe this is my Presbyterian stroke Anglican upbringing, we don't pray for the royal family on a regular basis. And they must be going through cataclysmic times at the moment, with all the problems they have, and yet seen as leading the nation. So I would think prayers for the royal family, and perhaps naturally the prayers for the armed forces, who are very often forgotten in what they're doing. You know, their primary role is the protection of this country in however is necessarily defined at the time. And they often do it invisibly, quietly, and they get on with it.
So thank you, John and Sylvia, for taking part in SBC Chat. If anybody else would like to be involved, please send me a message. God bless. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.